The dust has now settled on the budget, and the Chancellor insists that she's not for turning on one of its most controversial measures, the hike in employer national insurance. Many businesses are now pricing that in, but the prospect of trade tariffs by President Trump adds to the uncertainty in the year ahead. Shevaun Haviland is the Director General of the British Chambers of Commerce, and she joins me now. Morning, Shevaun.
Morning.
You've recently surveyed your members, which are mostly small and medium-sized businesses. How do they think the government's doing?
So our quarterly economic survey came out this week, 5,000 businesses. What did they tell us? They told us that tax was their number one concern, which we haven't seen for quite some years, obviously driven by national insurance increases. And that's really hit confidence. And we measure confidence in forward sales, so less than half thinking that their turnover is going to increase over the next year. And that's not good. And so they're thinking about what they're going to do about it. Are they going to increase prices? Are they going to slow down investment? And slower business investment is bad for growth.
That's actually a fall-off from the previous, the equivalent quarter last year, isn't it, in terms of confidence?
It is, and it's sort of lowest levels of confidence since 2022, so we really need to turn that around.
What do you reckon that the impact on the economy might be of that lack of confidence, for example, in hiring?
So businesses are telling us they're thinking about three areas of mitigating against those tax increases. First is looking at putting up prices. That's going to be difficult in a lot of sectors because there's a lot of price increases due to the inflation of the last couple of years, and businesses don't want to put up their prices. Secondly, they'll take it in the margin. That means less investment in growing your business, which again is not a good thing. And then thirdly, they'll think about slowing down recruitment or perhaps less pay rises for employees next year. So what we need to see, is what we said to the Chancellor this week, is you need to recognise that impact and you need to act on accelerating other things that we've asked for.
Those two things, particularly the investment and the hiring, are actually problems for Rachel Reeves' ambition to grow the economy. Now, we've seen the last couple of months that growth has been flat. If people aren't hiring, people aren't earning and spending money, and if we aren't investing, you can't see productivity going up. Are we potentially heading for what people are now calling the doom loop towards stagflation, low growth, high inflation?
We need to see really quick action. Right, the government have talked about good things we've asked for, industrial strategy coming down the track, trade strategy, infrastructure plan, but probably June. It's January. That's 6 months of vacuum we don't need. So what we've said to the Chancellor is we want to see three things. Help businesses on the cost side by speeding up business rates review, that's an upfront tax. So that will help investment, that will help the high street. Accelerate infrastructure plans. So if we can get, she talked about this in the budget, if we can get Britain building, if we can sign off big infrastructure projects like Sizewell C or Lower Thames Crossing, that really drives SME supply chains. You really see local economies develop in those areas. And then the third is trade. So EU, still our biggest trading partner. Let's build a relationship there. Let's make it easier for businesses to trade.
Do you think, people are getting very nervous, and the bond markets that everybody's talking about are obviously losing confidence in the idea of the plan and the promises that things will change here. Is there a danger that we are heading back into recession?
No, we don't see recession as an issue. We forecast about 1.3% growth for this year. But we do need to see quick action in those areas that we've talked about. And of course, action is important, and that drives confidence. And, the UK economy has some really strong fundamentals. We have a new government with a large majority, a 4-year mandate. And, Trevor, I have the pleasure of travelling the country, meeting the businesses of the UK. And what I can tell you is they are resilient, innovative organisations. Yes, they lay out the challenges as per national insurance, but then they say to me, but, you know, look at the apprenticeship I've hired, or look at the digitisation I'm putting in, or look at the expansion I'm doing. So, you know, that is confidence, and we need to project that confidence as an economy.
I thought it was very interesting in your survey when I read it that one of the top things that they talked about, and you've just mentioned it, is business rates reform.
Yeah.
Now, government or the Labour Party in opposition talked quite a lot about this, but we haven't seen any prospect of business rate reform, despite the fact that they're now to their sort of 74th, I think, consultation. But that's one thing that hasn't happened. How disappointed are businesses that that's not on the horizon?
So to be fair to this government, I mean, it is on the horizon. They have promised that reviewing that reform this year, so that a new system will come in April 26.
Okay.
But what we're saying is it can't come a minute too soon.
Get on with it.
Right, exactly, because that's another upfront cost that stops you investing, and then focus on the opportunities, the growth opportunities on the other side, infrastructure build, trade.
Okay. You met the Chancellor before she went to China. Do you expect to see any practical outcomes for your members as a result of this trip?
So the trip that the Chancellor's on is what we want to see all our politicians doing, right? Travelling the world, banging the drum for UK PLC. The focus of the trip this time was around financial services, hugely important for the UK, and some sort of climate-type products. So that was the focus this time round. Absolutely drive confidence, which is really important for our members. I mean, trade is the most efficient way to grow GDP. We estimate a 2-point increase in trade can drive something like 0.7% of GDP. That is huge. So it is really important that our politicians are working with all our biggest trading partners around the world.
I don't know if you've read the output. Once you've got past the rather technical paragraphs about the greasy wool protocol and the pet food protocols and so on, do you think that the Chancellor's actually smoothed the way to an expansion of trade in the way that you've talked about?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, relationships take time to build, don't they? So this is a great first step with China, fourth biggest trading partner. We want to see the same with the EU, with the US and so on. But it's absolutely the right way to go.
And what about the US? What impact might Mr. Trump's promised tariffs have on us?
Well, clearly there's a lot of chatter about that, and it doesn't help certainty and stability. But what you've got to remember is that we have very strong trade links with the US. We are not in a trade deficit with the US. And the vast majority of our trade is services, not goods. So tariffs are sort of less impactful for us. And US businesses do tell us that it's important for us to have other strong relationships, like with our partners in the EU. So it's not a zero-sum game, you know. We can find a win-win for everybody.
I love the fact, Shevaun, that you brought a shaft of optimism into the prevailing gloom in our discussion. Genuinely, are you optimistic?
Genuinely, I am. Optimism is a very undervalued leadership quality, in my view, Trevor, and I see it in the business leaders of the UK week in and week out. So that's what makes me feel optimistic.
Shevaun Haviland, thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you.